If you make it through high school, they will do their best to provide for you with a college education. You can call on them when you need something, and they will do their best to give it to you right away. They are always there to support you through your relationship issues, your career endeavors, and even pay for your wedding. They do that. If you do right, they'll do that for you. They'll support your children and babysit for you from time to time. Mothers are always there when you need them, right? I had an awakening one day. At the age of 12, my daughter was in middle school, and she was participating on a step team in the middle of a basketball game. And so after that, normally when she's done with something, she'll come and sit by me. But this time, she just came up, kissed me on the cheek, hey, Mom, grabbed her bag and her jacket, and went and sat with her friends. Now, I was a little taken back by it. I want to come sit with me and talk with me. I'm sitting here, I came all this way, ran from work to watch you perform, and then you just get up and go with your friends. But my mother was there at the time. And I looked, I said, Mom, how does it feel when your child starts to pull away from you? And she just looked at me with a smile and said, now you know how I feel. But can you imagine Mary, Jesus' mother, how she felt carrying this child for 9 months, nurturing, feeding, educating, and instructing in the ways of God, and all the while knowing he is the Son of God and will one day pull away from her. It seems to be at the age of 12 that our children have the instincts to want to start exploring life on their own and walk into their independence. Jesus was at this age when he first separated from his parents. They were returning home from Jerusalem, where they just celebrated the feast of the Passover, and discovered that Jesus did not follow them. And when they went back to look for him, they found him at the temple sitting with the religious leaders. And they asked him, why didn't you follow us? And his response was, how is it that you sought me? 12 years old. How is it that you sought me? Wouldn't you know that I would be about my Father's business? Our children at that age become full of themselves, don't they? And think they know it all. They got it all together. And they can do what they want. But they don't realize how much they really still need you. Let them ask, let them get hungry. Let them need a ride somewhere. Let them need some money to do something. They're going to come to you. And reading this story, you would think that Mary and Jesus was kind of lacked in their supervision. But they weren't, because at this time, at the age of 12, young males were considered young adults or sons of the law. So realizing this, they were treated as such. So they didn't need as much supervision as they needed before. When they found him answering questions and asking questions of the scriptures with the leader, Mary was reminded of the call on Jesus' life. And she also was reminded of a time when a devout man named Simeon that was awaiting the day to see the Messiah's face, which was Jesus face to face, say unto her, a sword shall pierce through your soul also. That's found in Luke 2:35. It does something realizing that your children will no longer look to you for every little thing. I'm experiencing that. Woo! It does something to you. And you may even get jealous of the very thing that's taking their attention away from you, or a person that's taking their attention away from you. But we have to be reminded of the word of Proverbs 22:6, which says, train up a child in the way that they should go. And when they're old, they will not depart from it. We always have to be reminded that our children are not our own, but a gift from God. And he can call them to purpose at any time. We can only do what we're assigned to do regarding our children. and prayed that they would one day develop into the responsible person that God has given them to become. When they get into their 20s, the ties should loosen even more. Your children are now full adults, making their own decisions and walking into their own identities. Even if they are living in your house, and yes, you have your house rules, and yes, they have to respect them, but they do have the right to exercise their will. Mm-hmm. Especially male adults who are living with their widowed mother or their single mother, because sometimes, especially in those days, that they become the head of the household. They become and help to make decisions in the house, and also they become the protector or even the provider of that home. Mm-hmm. When Jesus died, or when Joseph died, Jesus was no longer called the son of the carpenter, but he was the carpenter. Right. In Matthew 13:55, they said, "Is this not the carpenter's son?" Uh-huh. But in Mark 6, they said, "Is this not the carpenter?" And John 2:1-5, Jesus at the age of 30 now, and the disciples and Mary was at a wedding feast where the host ran out of wine. Yeah. Mary, noticing that the host was embarrassed, looked to Jesus to fix the problem because she knew the potential that was in him. His response to her was, "Woman," not ma'am, not mother, but woman. But that wasn't the problem, because in those days, woman was referred to as man or mother. So that wasn't the problem. He said, "Woman, what do I have to do with thee? My time has not come yet." Sometimes our children can get a little complacent in staying home and doing nothing but hanging out with their friends and living beneath purpose. At the age of 30, your son, your daughter, they should be doing something. We also have to recognize when to let go and let God. It is our job to push them out. When we know that God has a calling on their life, even if it means departing from us for good. So Mary, knowing that she raised an obedient son, turned to the disciples and said, "Whatsoever he says unto you, do it." She knew he was going to honor her request because he has to respect her. But see, after that, Jesus started walking in his calling. That was the jump start. Sometimes we got to push our kids out. You know, we get used to them being home, especially in their 30s, if they help bringing in some income and all that, and help taking care of us. We could get used to that too. But we have to know that God has called our children for purpose, and they have to walk it out. And it's our job, and that's why we raise our kids, to become successful adults. And that's all that our job is for them. After that, Jesus started walking in his calling. Jesus was no longer the son of Mary, but Jesus of Nazareth. When leaving home, Abram was no longer called Abram, but he was called Abraham. Jacob was no longer called Jacob, but Israel. Simon was no longer called Simon, but Peter. Turn to your neighbor and say, "Purpose is calling. He's changing my name." Purpose is calling. He's changing my name. Even though our children may go their separate ways, they know that we will always be there for them. It may be a piercing in the heart at times that they no longer look for us for everything. But it's a joy to see them prosper and become successful adults and walking out the calling of God on their lives. You just pray that they will not forget about you and appreciate all the things that you've done for them. Not that you have done it for that reason, but you just want to know, you want to know that they love you and that they remember you. where Mary and Jesus' brothers went to go visit him. And the disciples went and told Jesus, your mother and your brother are outside. And he said, who is my mother? And who are my brothers? What? That's a piercing in the side. Did he forget about me? Do he remember who I was? Did he remember what I've done for him? If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't be where he was today. A piercing in the side or in the heart. Jesus, after fulfilling his call in his life, is hanging on a cross and suffering, and looks down and notices his mother and the disciple who he loved, which was John, suffering along with him. Because when your mother hurts, when you hurt, we feel your pain. We hate it when people do things to you. We hate it when you not doing the things that we. But he was hanging and suffering, and they were suffering along with him. John, this was the disciple that was the closest to Jesus. He knew the secrets that the other disciples didn't know. For example, when they were at the Last Supper, and Jesus said, one of you all are going to betray me, the disciples turned to John and said, ask him, which one of you is it? And Jesus said, the one that dips the bread into the wine with me, that's the one. And so when he's telling Jesus to go ahead, to go on, the other disciples didn't know why he was leaving. They thought, he was just doing something, that Jesus asked him to do. But John knew that that was the one that was getting ready to betray Jesus. You see, your mother hurts when you hurt, your best friend hurts when you hurt. They both needed comforted, and Jesus said to them, woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. You see, he did not forget about her. And he appreciated and loved her for the mother she was to him. Proverbs 31:26 says, her children will arise and call her blessed. See, Mary was a blessed and highly favored woman. Mothers as well as our children, we have a calling on our lives. And that is to raise our children in the way that they should go. Remember that they were gifted to us. And when God calls them for a purpose, we have to let them go. And if you raise your children right, and you're always there for them, and they know that, and you support them, they won't forget you. Right. When they come into their own, when they come into their destiny, when they reach their peak of success and all that, they will make sure you are well taken care of. Just remember, he doesn't